Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Novika Sripatiwi. I want to tell you about a proposal seminar. The title is The Effect of Literature Collection, Reading Interest, and Learning Discipline on GPA in Semester 7 Student on Economic Education Study Program, State University of Jakarta. First, I want to tell you about preliminary, second, literature study, and the last one is research methodology. Chapter 1 is preliminary. And the issue background is based on the table that the highest goal of accessing the internet is social media and the lowest is doing school assignment. This proves that with the progress of internet access in Indonesia, there is no progress in terms of education. The reduced access to schoolwork is the low interest in reading among teenagers. In addition, the lack of facilities such as books and the absence of learning discipline amongst teenagers. Simulation problems. First, is there an effect of literature collection on GPA in semester 7 of economic education students at the State University of Jakarta? Second, is there an effect of reading interest on GPA in semester 7 of economic education students at the State University of Jakarta? Third, is there an effect of learning discipline on the GPA in semester 7 of economic education students at the State University of Jakarta? And the last one, is there an effect of the literature collection, reading interest, and learning discipline on GPA in semester 7 of economics education student at State University of Jakarta? The purpose of this research: first, calculating and analysis the effect of literature collection on GPA in semester 7 of economic education students at State University of Jakarta. Second, calculating and analyzing reading interest on GPA in semester 7 of economic education students at State University of Jakarta. Third, calculating and analyzing learning discipline on GPA in semester 7 for economic education students at State University of Jakarta. And the last one is calculating and analyzing literature collection, reading interest, and learning discipline on GPA in semester 7 for economic education student at State University of Jakarta. Benefit of the research are: first, theoretical benefit can add reference or information for further research on literature collection, reading interest, and learning discipline. For practical benefit, first, provide input in improving the quality of the learning process on campus. And the last one is provide input for students who want to work in the field of education. Chapter 2, Literature Study. Conceptual description. First, I want to tell you about learning achievement. Tirtonegoro say learning achievement is an assessment of the result of business activity expressed in the form of symbols, numbers, letters, and the sentence that can reflect the result that have been achieved by each child in a certain period. Second, Tembanen and Hasta Suhud, learning achievement is a performed result that shows the extent to which a person had achieved certain goals that are the focus of activity in the instructional environment, especially in school, college, and universities. After that, learning collection. Swandi say learning collection can also be interpreted as a reference used to obtain certain information. Literature can be from the book or various other writings. Milyashari and Asmendri say literature collection is positioned as a sort of ideas or inspiration that can generate other ideals or thought. Reading interest. Eko Wijayanto, Subangsono, and Wardoyo say interest in reading is a force that encourages children to pay attention, feel interest, and happy in reading activities so that they want to do reading activity of their own accord. Scholars say reading interest has been used to refer to readers' perfection in relation to extent to which the readers enjoy reading or finds it exciting and interesting. Learning discipline. Latifa Al-Kumero and Sandy Arif say learning discipline is one of the objectives that students must have in order to have a good way of learning. And Ruslinda Agustina Masrifani Anita Nopia say learning discipline is a force that moves students to excel, which is extent to achieve the desired goal of students. Relevant research result from Pramudito Herlambang, Zaini Rohmat, and Slamet Subakya. The journal title is The Influence of Extracurricular Activity, Reading Interest, and Learning Discipline on Student Achievement in SMA Negeri 1 Kartasura. From Carlos Cambuaya, the journal title is The Influence of Motivation, Interest, Discipline, and Self-Adaptation on the Learning Achievement of Student Participation in the Affirmation Program for Secondary Education from Papua and West Papua in the city of Bandung. And the last one is from Kreslina Patipeiluhu. The journal title is The Influence of Reading Habits and Book Collection on Student Achievement at STAKPN Ambon. Theoretical framework. Factors that influence learning achievement state by Salamento that learning achievement are influenced by internal factor and external factor. Internal factors, namely factors contained within the individual, physical factor, psychological factor, and fatigue factor. External factors, namely originating from outside the individual, namely like family factors, school factors, and community factors. From the picture, we know H1 is there is an effect between the literature collection on the GPA in semester 7 for students of the Economic Education Study Program State University of Jakarta. H2, there is an effect between reading interest on GPA in semester 7 of student of the Economic Education Study Program, State University of Jakarta. H3, there is an effect between learning discipline on GPA in semester 7 for student of the Economic Education Study Program, State University of Jakarta. And the last one is for H4. There is an effect between literature collection, reading interest, and learning discipline on GPA in semester 7 of students of the Economic Education Study Program, State University of Jakarta. Method of research, place and period at State University of Jakarta, Rawamangun Muka Street, East Jakarta. April 2021 until finish. Research method, this study used quantitative research methods with survey methods using multiple linear regression analysis models. Type and source data. First, primary data were obtained by distributing questionnaires for independent variables. Second, secondary data is obtained from the GPA in the 7th semester of economic education student. And for subject and object, the subject in this study were students of economic education at State University of Jakarta, and the object of the research in this study is the GPA of students of economic education at State University of Jakarta. And population, the population in this study were 163 students of economic education at the State University of Jakarta, and the sampling technique used is proportional random sampling. The determination of the sample using the solving formula. The sample that the researcher will use for research in 115 students of economic education at the State University of Jakarta. Data collection technique. The data in this study were obtained by the survey method using a closed questionnaire and questionnaire for data collection on the independent variable. Collecting data for the dependent variable using the technique of documentation of GPA data in the 7th semester of students of economic education at the State University of Jakarta. Measurement data for variable X by scoring using a Likert scale. Score alternative answer to the questionnaire is like in this picture. Data collection technique. First, we have learning achievement. Conceptual definition of learning achievement is the peak of success obtained through the abilities of students with the result of their efforts, which are influenced by their experience during the learning process and are shown through grades or scores. Operational definition. Learning achievement is the peak of success obtained through the abilities of students with the result of their effort, which are influenced by their experience during the learning process and are shown through grades or score. The indicator of learning achievement is grade point average or GPA. Next, we have literature collection. For conceptual definition, literature collection is a reading research that can be used to add insight, knowledge, and information needed by readers. For example, in the world of education to support the learning process, books that are in accordance with the subject matter, or in the other activities such as entertain, can use novel or comics. And for operational definition, literature collection is a reading resource that can be used to add insight, knowledge, and information needed by readers. For example, in education to support the learning process is a book. And for the entertainment, can use novel and comics. And the indicator of the literature collection are the relevance of the collection, the benefit of the collection, and the up-to-date of the collection of the book, novel, or comics. Reading interest. For the conceptual definition, reading interest is someone who is willing and accompanied by an activity effort to read the effect or reading alone to find an understanding of the text that has been read. And for the operational definition, reading interest is someone who is willing and accompanied by an activity effort to read. The effect of reading alone to find an understanding. The indicator of interest in reading, such as the need for reading, action to seek reading, interest in reading, and the last one is desire to always read. Learning discipline. For the conceptual definition, learning discipline is the ability of students to consciously control themselves and be willing to obey the rules that have been set. These rules are in written or unwritten. From the result of obeying the rules will be able to improve learning achievement. And for operational definition, learning discipline is the ability of students to consciously control themselves and be willing to obey the rules that have been set. The indicators for learning discipline are disciplinary behavior in the classroom, disciplinary behavior outside the classroom in the school environment, and the last one is disciplinary behavior at home. Data analysis technique. First, we have instrument tests. There are validity and reliability. After that, we have test requirements analysis. First, we have normality test, linearity test, multiple test, and hetero test. For the hypothesis test, we have multiple linear regression analysis, t-test, f-test, and the last one is determination coefficient. Thank you for watching my videos. I hope it's useful.